Hey, what's going on? Of course, the last 24 hours have been quite tough, with the whole world trying to process what happened to Air India flight number 171, a Boeing 787 8 Dreamliner that was supposed to fly from Ahmedabad in the western part of India to London's Gatwick, but unfortunately, it never made it. This particular route was launched in March of 2023, and since then, Air India has been operating 3 flights every single week in and out of London. However, sometimes early this year in 2025, the airline bumped it up from 3 flights every week to 5 flights every single week, all operated with their Dreamliner. So they have flights on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they skip Friday, and then they operate their last flight on Saturday. Across the UK, Air India operates a total of 48 flights every single week from various cities in India. Still, that's fairly modest compared to huge airliners such as Emirates, which operates a staggering 133 flights every single week in and out of the UK. That's nearly triple, just to give you a sense of how dominant some of these Gulf carriers are dominant on these long-haul routes. Now on this day, everything seemed pretty routine. In command was Captain Samit, a 60-year-old veteran pilot who had clocked about 8,000 hours of flying experience. His first officer was Kundar, a younger co-pilot who had logged about 1,100 hours of flying. The two had potentially wrapped up their pre-flight checks outside the aircraft, usually involving a walk-around inspection, checking things like the engines, the wing surfaces, the landing gear, the fuselage, just to ensure that there are no visible issues. And by the way, this particular Dreamliner was powered by 2 Rolls-Royce Trent 1000 engines, quiet, fuel efficient, modern. And so all seemed well. Back in the cockpit, they ran through their final systems checklists, started the engines, and reviewed the flight plan. Meanwhile, the cabin crew had already completed boarding. 230 passengers and 12 crew members were now on board, and the team was making the final rounds, checking to ensure seatbelts were fastened, that the overhead bins were securely locked, and that the passengers seated on the exit rows, or what we refer popularly as emergency exits, were properly briefed. Pushback was done, clearance was granted, and now AI 171 was taxiing to runway 23, with the pilot flying ready to advance on the throttles, while the pilot monitoring was busy checking to ensure that all the parameters were checked. Now, this flight to London typically takes about 9 hours. The route usually exits India through the east coast, flies over the Gulf of Oman, then crosses Iran, Turkey, Romania, Serbia, and finally over the northern part of France. After that, it exits the French airspace near Calais and then crosses the English Channel and then enters the UK from the south. From there, it makes a left turn near Ashdown Forest, takes 2 gentle right turns, and lines up for its final approach into London Gatwick. That's how the route for AI 171 looks like on any typical flight day, just like it would have been for this ill-fated flight. But sadly, that journey never really got underway. Just moments after takeoff, it became so clear that something wasn't right. The aircraft was struggling to climb, at least from the video evidence that we have seen circulating around social media. The landing gear was still down, and then it began losing altitude. As a matter of fact, if you look at data from Flight Radar 24, it only took about 9 minutes from pushback from the stands until the time it crashed. Only less than 9 minutes. Quite tragic. This is actually the first fatal accident involving the Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner since the aircraft first entered service back in 2011. Investigators from Boeing, the NTSB, and other global aviation investigation agencies, of course in collaboration with the Indian Civil Aviation Authorities, are already on the ground reviewing the black box data, cockpit voice recordings, and examining the wreckage to figure out exactly what went wrong. Until then, the questions remain. And for now, we can only send our thoughts and deepest condolences to all those who've been affected by this heartbreaking tragedy.